everyone. Really excited to be here. I'm Clara. This is Janet. We lead HubSpot's Intent Signals program in the marketing team. Today, we're going to be talking about something that we've been building for a few years, especially Janet, that has been in this space even longer than I have, which is the data foundation that we have built that tells us who to go after, when, and how. This is usually not a glamorous topic, but I'm glad today, here with this crowd in this place, it is a glamorous topic. So happy to be here talking about that. But it's what makes everything at HubSpot work: sales, marketing, automation, and now AI. So before Janet takes you through how we built this to be a consistent source of revenue for HubSpot, I want to start with where we're headed with a little bit of looking into the future. We have a vision that is very similar, scarily similar to what Christian showed earlier today. And I swear we didn't coordinate this. I'm not here pitching user gems, but maybe our minds just work the same, Christian and I. For years, we built HubSpot's signal engine with two consumers in mind: marketing and sales, all humans. The job was to get the data to marketing, get the data to sales reps, and hope that they figured out what was happening with our prospects. But now there is a third consumer of this data, which is AI. And AI needs to be fed just as much as our reps and our marketing team. It needs signals, it needs context, it needs prioritization. And so if our data layer is messy or if we have incomplete data, AI is not going to be working right. It's going to be hopeless. So the vision that we have for HubSpot's intent signal strategy is not just routing data to humans in a better way, or not just routing more data even, but it's building a foundation that humans can work on top of and that AI can also work with. So we're not there yet. Maybe catch me in a few months. But we've been building towards this. And the reason that I believe it's important to build this is because AI is only as good, only as smart as the signals feeding it. This might be a very obvious statement, but when we started experimenting with AI like a year or so ago, we got very mixed results. We got automation that misfired. We had still generic messaging going out. And the reason for that is that we didn't have the right setup of our data. So bad data in, bad data out, and that's what we're trying to improve at HubSpot. So we stopped chasing signals volume for many years. Every year the conversation was, how can we get more signals? What other vendors are we going to use? And now the conversation is, let's focus on the signals that work, and let's make that work for AI as well. I think getting signals right is harder than it used to be in the past. I'm sure a lot of people can relate here. Most intent data has become a commodity. Let's be honest, your competitors have access to the same vendors that you have, same general keyword topics, same timing. So the signal stops being useful. And so with that in mind, we started focusing on really understanding what signals work and narrowing on those signals. And on top of that, AI came to the picture. And it doesn't just need data, it needs context, it needs to know what signals matter, what signals have expired. More information than humans need, because sometimes they can interpret it themselves. So we're still working towards giving AI more context about our signals at HubSpot so that we really can tap into all the data that we have. But even without that, we have built a very positive, we have had very positive results and have built a predictable source of revenue at HubSpot by using signals from different sources. We have seen 2 times more deals created year over year with this program, millions of closed revenue, and also faster time to close than hand raises, especially with job change signals. So Janet is going to walk you through how we got to these great results. You have.
Cool, awesome. So Clara walked you through kind of where we are now and where we're headed. And so I'm actually going to take you back to how we built it. So we're going to go with me on a trip down memory lane back to 2023. And in 2023, HubSpot hit a pretty significant problem. And that was that our inbound demand was down. And I'm sure that that's not an unfamiliar story, especially with the rise of LLM search and zero-click search. It's something that's continued. And as the company that kind of wrote the inbound playbook, it's a huge problem for us. We suddenly had to get really good at outbound in a way that we weren't before. And so we decided that intent signals was going to be the way we wanted to do that, because it kind of aligned with our sort of inbound motion. We'd find people who are interested in topics or problems that we were solving, and we'd be able to reach out to them, deliver value first, and then go ahead and pitch the sale, so to speak. And so we started it in 2023 with some of the usual suspects. We brought in company-level intent with 6 Sense and demand base. We even got a little spicy and sprinkled in some G2 page views. And this worked really well for us for a while. Again, this was 3 years ago. So what worked well is we were actually seeing better performance than cold outbound. And that was ultimately our goal, find warmer accounts that we may not know otherwise. We were also doing that. We were also able to deliver our marketing teams really large interest-specific audiences for webinars and for campaign building. We were able to track topics in language, so it worked for our global business as well. And we were surfacing on average about 90 new deals per month. What wasn't working? The problem when you're bringing in 4 different data sources with topics in 7 different languages, the volume was great, but the volume was massive. So we needed to create a scoring mechanism to give us like a way to filter down what we were going to actually serve to reps. And the problem when you have to build a score is you have to then maintain a score and make sure that it continues to work. The other problem we were running into with company-level intent is we couldn't automate on that. There aren't contacts tied with this intent data that we could do outreach to. And then finally, it was a bit of a confusing workflow for our reps. We were basically telling them an ambiguous number of people at an ambiguous company are researching ambiguous topics on ambiguous sites an ambiguous amount of times. And so it wasn't a clear motion like, okay, great, I guess I'll reach out. So what we decided to do, one thing we kept hearing from our reps is they kept saying, oh, so y'all bring in third-party data. Y'all should bring in user gems. Y'all should bring in job change signals. What they were really looking for was a way to scale a motion that they were doing manually in a much bigger way. Our best reps were already doing job change outreach, but they were tracking it on LinkedIn. And so what we did is we brought on user gems and started testing job change signals. And this was Q4 of 2024. But what we also did is we took sort of a different approach to content. Instead of just marketing, writing sequences, and then giving it to reps for this motion, you'll remember our best reps were already doing this. So we actually looked in our database and found our best performing rep-created sequences and then scaled that globally. So that also helped with rep adoption because we were using things that they were already finding success in. And needless to say, they were very pumped. The other thing we did is we partnered with our automation team to help drive rep action. So how our job change signals work at HubSpot is a signal fires, and then reps or BDRs have 7 days to work that signal. If they don't work it, automation is going to kick in. And so the reason that that works really well for us is it gives reps the opportunity to touch those really high-value leads. But if they don't, it makes sure that these leads don't go untouched. So it's been a really successful motion for us. So with champions proven, we were like, I wonder what would happen if we looked at new hires generally that maybe didn't have a relationship with us. So we started testing that as well. And we did this in 2 key plays. The first was we took all of our high fit, persona fit accounts in our database, and we started tracking it as a new business motion. But then what we also did is we looked at our customer base. So we have a number of different product lines. So for example, we might have a Marketing Hub customer that hires a new VP of customer success. Maybe they're a good fit for our Service Hub platform. So we started raising that to sales as well. And reps also really loved that. And across both of those new hire motions, we actually saw 2 times the number of deals with just half the signal volume. So reps are seeing less noise, but better outcomes. And so, kind of came full circle late last year, because we started to think, okay, we're still seeing success from, 6 Sense demand base from that web research intent that we were bringing in at the company level. But it could get a lot better if we were able to drill down to the contact level. And shockingly enough, just as we started exploring that, User Gems brought it out. And so we started testing that earlier this year. And it was a much simpler motion. Again, we no longer had to score, because we weren't just bringing in a mass volume of companies that were doing this intent. We were bringing in specific decision maker, director plus contacts in our personas that were doing it. And our automation teams could also automate on it too. So it was a much clearer motion for us than the company level intent alone. And so we actually, when comparing the contact level web research to our company level research, we see 6 times more deals than we would otherwise. So it's been a really great motion for us as well. And then the last thing, now that we have our signal engine really stood up, I want to take you to March of this year. So who here is familiar with what AEO is? That's what I thought. So with AEO becoming more and more prevalent, we actually, our product team moved the launch of our AEO product from the fall to the spring, which meant we had about a month to create our demand audiences for the AEO engine. And we were actually able to build it very quickly with our existing signals. So we took our past champions and started tracking personas we weren't tracking before. We added a bunch of new AEO, GEO, and AI search topics, but it also gave us the ability to track more AI-specific use cases. Because we had kind of the core of our signal engine already built, and we're able to stand that up so quickly, we were then able to use LLMs to create really bespoke signals. So for example, we use an LLM to scrape all of our high-fit accounts for inbound reliance. So we'd scrape their websites and see, do they have a blog? Do they have CTA buttons on their website? Are they a good fit for our product because they're investing in their inbound motion? And then this campaign was also one of our first times really testing using AI to synthesize all of our signal data. Because now we've got a new problem. We have a ton of signal data, and reps need to know about 50 properties to be able to make much sense of it. So we started by just using, we fed all of our first party, third party, and then those custom created LLM signals into a clay table, and then used it to summarize what was happening, as well as recommend outreach. And so this did 2 things for us. First, we got a lot of good, valuable rep feedback. One was, this summary could be a lot more skimmable, and we could be a lot more prioritized with it. But 2, also, this was a much better way for them to be able to see all of the things that were happening at a company in a way that we hadn't shown them before. And it gave us a good taste into how AI could make this volume of signal data that we have first and third party so much more powerful, which is what Clara's going to tell you about next.
Yes, so wrapping us up, as you can see from Janet's, the phases that we have gone through, we have no shortage of data at HubSpot. And now we have the opposite problem, which is how do we use all of that data? So you've seen the journey that we've been going through, years of building, years of bringing in new vendors, new data, etc. But now what changes for us is that people aren't the only audience. And so what we're trying to get to is just the single place that has all of our signals, and all the signals can be used across our organization, across marketing, across sales, by AI agents. If sales is using Claude, they can type into our signals there. If we want to create great CRM dashboards, we can type into our signals as well through the same source of truth. And the only ones that need to be proficient in signals are just Janet and I and the rest of our team. And the reason, we believe this is important, again, is because AI is only as good as the data that it has. And so to wrap us up with 2 things, the first is that the data foundation comes first for us in our program. Again, data foundation is not the most glamorous topic, but it is what gets things done. It's the foundation that everything is built on. The data needs to be accurate enough that reps can use it and can trust it, and it needs to be complete enough that AI can use it with the full context. And then the second takeaway for today is that contact level signals were the unlock for us last year and this year when we can now feed it into like this unified data layer to sales, then we'll get a great unlock as well. So hope you got great takeaways from this, and thank you so much.